Hello and welcome to another episode of The Metal Collector. Today we're going to have a look on what I think are the 10 greatest Iron Maiden albums. So, yeah, let's go. Iron Maiden is without doubt one of my all-time favorite bands. I love that band, and I have been a fan of them since actually I almost started listening to hard rock and metal music, because that band was also one of the reasons why I got into all this. So thank you, Iron Maiden, and thank you for many good years of great music. And to celebrate the band, today I have gathered what I think are the 10 greatest Iron Maiden albums, and I've tried to put them in order the way I think it should be. So we start out with number 10, and then the album, after my opinion, gets better and better. And this is, I know this is sacrifice for some people, because no matter who you're talking with, your Iron Maiden list will never be exactly the same. I don't think there are two Iron Maiden fans in this world, even though there are thousands of us. I don't think there are any that have completely the same list. But of course there will be a lot of these albums that also will be on your list as well, but maybe not the same order. But instead of talking about that, let's get down to the business, because the first one, number 10, is Dance of Death. Already now, I'll bet my ass that some of you out there are just looking at this thinking, why is that on a top 10 list with Iron Maiden? Well, I like this album, plain and simple. When it got out, I was a little bit, I would say, not disappointed, but I had high expectations for this one after Brave New World. And when this got out, it wasn't a Brave New World album, that's for sure, but it was actually a pretty decent album, but it was a little bit more progressive, if you want to call it that, than its than the previous album. That's it. And after hearing it for, I don't know, 6 months or something, and catching them live on the tour as well, I was just starting to get into this album. And today I say that this is truly a great Iron Maiden albums. Truly a great Iron Maiden album. And you know, Wildest Dreams, I've always had something with that song. It's an okay opening song, but you know, Iron Maiden are known to have super perfect, brilliant opening songs, and Wildest Dreams is not one of the greatest, but it's an okay up-tempo little song. Rainmaker is really great, and No More Lies, love that. Monsegur, great. Dance of Death, fantastic song. New Frontier, where Nico McBrain also participates in the songwriting, actually one of my favorite songs from this. Dance of Death on spot number 10. Spot number 9, Killers. Yeah, again, some might discuss why the hell this is doing so far up the list. But for me, I love Killers, and I love all Iron Maiden albums, so it's not to debate. But Killers, well, compare it to some of the other albums, and Killers turn out that it's not as strong as many of the other Iron Maiden albums. But it still got, you know, Wrathchild, they still play that. Actually, I would say that's one of the songs I'm getting a little bit tired of hearing live all the time. I would rather listen to Killers, the title track, live, or Purgatory or Drifter or something like that. Murders in the Rue Morgue, fantastic song. And with our own little punkish vocalist, Paul, on this one, he sounds killer. Yeah, bad joke, but Killers on spot number 9. Great album. Peace of Mind on spot number 8. I was actually debating with myself whether I should put Killers on number 9 or 8, and this the opposite way, because Peace of Mind is for me a little bit of an outsider. It's you know, if you're listening to all the other albums from the 80s, you got Iron Maiden and Killers. You can in some way combine those two. It's Paul Di'Anno's two albums, and before they're getting into stardom and the sound they, you know, are evolving up to this day, and you can in some way take Seventh Son and Somewhere in Time and combine those two together for their, you know, the sound of this a little bit late 80s kind of feeling to it. And then you can take two brilliant albums like The Number of the Beast and Powerslave and put this in the middle. This sounds like some bridge between those two, and still not. It's got a lot of great songs. It's not that, but and Where Eagles Dare, one of my personal favorites. Revelations, yeah, The Trooper, of course, also played a million times, but and Still Alive, actually perhaps one of the most underrated songs ever of Iron Maiden. And then you got Quest for Fire, Sun and Steel, Entertainment Land. Those three songs in the end. I don't know. I've always had something with this album. It's a great album, but it's a little bit too neutral. Trying to compare it to some of the other albums, but nevertheless, it's on my top 10 list. And a little lesser Iron Maiden album doesn't mean it's a bad album in any way, because, you know, yeah, you can listen to so many other bands and think, okay, this is perhaps a 7 out of 10 or something like that. And now comes a surprise, especially thinking of the last two you just saw, because on spot number 7 we got Fear of the Dark. Fear of the Dark isn't considered to be a masterpiece by too many people, except for the title track and the opening track, you know, Be Quick or Be Dead. But if you're looking at it, there are also a couple of other classics, you know, Afraid to Shoot Strangers and Wasting Love. But the overall feeling of this album, when I first got this album, I was totally hooked, and I listened to it all the time, and it was the title track, of course, that got me into this album. But listening to this so many times, it grew very much on me. And underdog songs like, for example, Chains of Misery, Weekend Warriors. Many people seems to not dislike Weekend Warriors, but think it's a strange Iron Maiden song. I love that song. Yeah, you know, From Here to Eternity. This is a good album, I would say. Yeah, great album. Spot number 7, Fear of the Dark. And spot number 6, we got the debut album, Iron Maiden. Also, I can't say anything bad about this album, because it was, I think, my second or third album I bought with Iron Maiden. And Phantom of the Opera, you know, perhaps the greatest Iron Maiden tune of all time is on this album, and Transylvania as well, Prower, and Charlotte the Harlot, you know, Iron Maiden song. This is just pure new wave of British heavy metal. This is the best of the best for its time, in my opinion, compared to all the other new wave of British heavy metal bands that also threw out their debut albums. But this is the reason why Iron Maiden continued. This is the reason why they started this piece. I love this piece. And then you can ask why it's not further down on the list. Well, the reason is because Iron Maiden, again, so many great albums, and it's very hard, and it was difficult for me to try and find the right line for these albums to come in. But this, actually, right now I'm starting to be a little sad I didn't throw it further down. But I already see the next one on spot number 5. We got Brave New World. And again, I have to say, also an album I love. When this came out, I will never forget it. It was just, we received the news about Blaze Bayley returning the vocalist spot for Bruce Dickinson. He returned, and with him he brought Adrian Smith, and Yannick Gears stayed in the band. So suddenly it was just like, okay, the family is back together, and they are still keeping one of the black sheeps, Yannick Gears, and luckily he's still in the band. And the expectations were high, but this is one of the examples where the expectations, the album went beyond expectations. This blew it to the sky when it came out, and already for the Wicker Man, I remember buying this and putting it on in my car and the stereo, and the first song, the first chords on the guitar, bam bam, and the production is sky high, and then it just, you know, it blew me completely away. And to this day, it's still an album that really gives you the chills when you are listening to it. I must say there are a couple of songs that maybe not are as strong as some of the others, but that goes for almost all of, no, that goes for all the albums. But this is definitely worth checking out. I was about to say, but you know, Iron Maiden fans are looking at this video, and of course you got all this shit. so it's not about checking anything out. But if you're new to Iron Maiden, please check this out, because this is one beauty. Now, moving on for the next one, spot number 4, we got Somewhere in Time. Now, I had a discussion with myself whether I should put this over Brave New World or not, but I think the reason why I choose to put this on spot number 4 instead of 5 is that I've had so many great memories with this album as well. It was one of the later albums I bought when I started buying Iron Maiden albums, and to begin with, I had a couple of favorites, but all in all, it was like a little bit like Peace of Mind. When I bought it, I was, you know, I had some. There were some songs I thought were good, but I couldn't find the whole perspective, the whole overall picture. It just didn't grow enough on me, and I had a little bit the same issue with this one. And suddenly one day it just exploded, and I went into, holy fuck, this album is really good, and it is. And also a very underrated song, Déjà Vu, a song that they should play live. I've never heard any clips where they play that live. And you know, Caught Somewhere in Time, Wasted Years, Sea of Madness, Heaven Can Wait. The weakest song, without doubt, is The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner. It's yeah, it's okay, but compared to the and Stranger in a Strange Land, holy Christ, this is a great album. But still not as great as the next one, because here comes The Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. I think many of you guys are also... No! Let's try that again. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. I think many of you guys also, and girls, are also having this pretty far up their list, because this is also considered to be one of their greatest albums, and I won't start the debate about that. The only thing I have with this album, overall, it's great. It's almost a 10 out of 10, but still, there is one song on this album that I have some issues with, and I've always had it. And Can I Play With Madness? It's cool when you're standing in together with hundreds of other Iron Maiden fans, or thousands if it's a festival participating, and you're watching them, and you're singing, and it all goes up to a higher level. But when you're listening to this album, I find that song a little bit, and I've always had it that way, a little bit annoying in some ways. But you know, it's not like it's not a hate song or anything. But I think there is something with that song. But leave that because the rest of the album is just pure, almost 10 out of 10s ever. Also a very not so famous Iron Maiden song, The Prophecy, of some reasons. Yeah, but Only the Good Die Young, also great tremendous song. Alright, spot number 2. We got the mighty Powerslave. Now, you have already guessed the #1 spot, and it's not a surprise. I think many of you also are having either this or, let's bring it out, the first spot. It's the Number of the Beast. I think many of you also have these two on the second and the first place. But for me, normally when people ask me which album is your favorite all-time Iron Maiden albums, I always says Powerslave. But I was listening to the albums recently and re-listening to Number of the Beast, because it's one of those albums you almost never listen to today, because you have heard it so many times back in the past, and you know, three of these songs are just played all the time. Run Through the Hills, the title track, and Hallowed Be Thy Name. So that goes for this as well, with 2 Minutes to Midnight, I would say. But as I was listening to it once again, I have to, because I've heard these songs a million times, and I've also heard this a million times, but I think I've heard this a little bit more the last couple of years than this, because, you know, just it was overplayed back then when I started listening to Iron Maiden, and still, you know, over the years always put Iron Maiden on from time to time. So this album, I think it's the most played Iron Maiden album in my collection. But and for that reason, I think it has, you know, turned out to be a little bit where you say, well, it's okay, but I prefer Powerslave a little bit more. Not much. And, you know, on Powerslave is my all-time favorite Iron Maiden song, Aces High. That's my, favorite of every Iron Maiden albums and songs and everything. Aces High, thank you. But considering that this album is actually so strong that you don't even realize it. Even Gangland is an okay tune. I have a problem though, also with Number of the Beast, but that goes for you know, Powerslave as well. I think as an overall experience, I think the Number of the Beast is this much, a little bit, this tiny bit better than Powerslave. Not much, and normally I would say these two, they should be on the first place together. Now, the only thing I have with Number of the Beast, it's the opening track, Invaders. Great start, great verses and everything, and the guitar, and then comes the chorus. The chorus, I have something against the guitar, the way the guitar goes in that song. Invaders, it sounds a little bit circus kind of feeling. I don't know, but still, as a whole experience, I would say Number of the Beast are their greatest album. But I have to choose one. So, and Powerslave is also the greatest album. So screw it. Let's just they share the first place, those two albums. I can't choose one. So, but anyway. Thanks for watching this video, and for all Iron Maiden fans out there, up the irons, like we say, and all that. And hopefully we'll see each other next time. Thank you for watching this, and hopefully we'll see each other next time I'm doing one of these, the Metal Collector videos. So have a nice day out there, and thank you.